Former President Trump on the verge of exacting revenge against his biggest Republican critic, Congresswoman Liz Cheney. Polls close in her home state of Wyoming in just 2 hours. Congresswoman Cheney is almost certain to lose her bid for re-election. Recent polls show her trailing her Trump-backed opponent, Harriet Hageman, by double digits. And all of the primaries the former president has gotten involved in, none seems more personal to him than this one.
I think this is the most important election that we have right here. You got to win, Otherwise, it's going to be a terrible thing for our country. And it's not just the one vote. It's really the symbol of what she represents. She really represents despicable things.
Of course, Cheney has not been shy with her criticism of the former president. She's made it her mission to make sure he doesn't win the White House again, calling him a threat to democracy. The Congresswoman not only voted to impeach him, but she serves as vice chair of the January 6th committee. And the moves have already cost her. Last year, the Wyoming Republican Party overwhelmingly voted to censure her. Then, months later, her colleagues in Congress voted her out of her leadership position. And now, Congresswoman Cheney's rejection of Mr. Trump could cost her her seat in the House. We have complete coverage tonight. In a moment, A.B. Stoddard with analysis on what may be next for Cheney. But first, CNBC senior congressional correspondent Elan Moy is live in Jackson, Wyoming. Elan.
Well, Kayla, Cheney's campaign is getting ready for her watch party here in Jackson tonight. The exact location is not being publicly disclosed yet, as security around her remains extremely tight. She did not hold any public events over the past few days, in part because as her national profile as a Trump critic has grown, so has the backlash among his supporters. In fact, a recent poll shows that 41% of those who say they're voting for her opponent, Harriet Hageman, say they're really just voting against Cheney.
I just turned against her so bad that no matter what she does now, it's too late. She ain't going to help herself by whatever she's going to do. It's not going to help anything. I just think she's going to lose because she isn't keeping up with what Wyoming wants.
Now, one woman we talked to did go hear both candidates speak, and she came away convinced that Hageman should win and that Cheney should walk away.
Liz really didn't share too much regarding what she's going to do for us. It was just a Trump bash, and Trump isn't our president. I mean, most of us are kind of sick of hearing about Trump. He doesn't determine inflation. He doesn't determine gas prices, and she just was talking about him the whole time.
Now, one wild card here is that voters can change their party affiliation right up until the last minute, and there are some signs that Democrats could wind up giving Cheney a boost.
I just want to be able to have a little bit of influence. I know a lot of Republicans hate the fact that Democrats can change the party. They say it's that we're changing in their election. It's, wait a second, I'm from Wyoming. I want to be able to have some say on who gets elected to office in the state of Wyoming.
Now, Kayla, that is a long shot, but even if Cheney loses tonight, 2024 is just around the corner.
Sure is. Elan Moy in Jackson, Wyoming. Elan, thank you. A.B. Stoddard, now associate editor and columnist for Real Clear Politics. A.B., thanks. Let's pick it up exactly where Elan left off. There's so much talk that if Cheney loses, she could perhaps entertain a run for president in 24. She hasn't ruled it out. I guess the question is, which party would she run with?
I don't think that she's really made up her mind about the path forward. I think she's leaving it open. She's been very blunt about that she's considering it. I don't know if she's considering being on a unity ticket, running as an independent, if she's going to try to run within the Republican nominating contest among, obviously, most candidates, in addition to former President Trump, would be very supportive of President Trump. And in a primary electorate that would be very supportive of President Trump. If she did, she would still have an effect. I think she will be a voice in our politics and a leader and a hero to many in our politics, no matter what she plans to do. I think she has a lot of appeal to the Republicans who believe that the party's lost its way, and obviously to independents and Democrats as well.
If someone back in 2016, when she first won her seat, told you that Democrats would one day be supportive of a conservative like Cheney, you wouldn't have believed them, but that's exactly what's happening now. How enduring do you think any support from Democrats could be here?
I don't know if it'll change the fate of her seat in Wyoming tonight, but I think the fact that she has stepped up to put her not only her country before her party, but her country before her professional career. She was on a glide path to be potentially the first Republican woman to serve as House Speaker, potentially the first Republican woman president from a dynasty, the Cheneys in Wyoming, her vast political experience. As a daughter to Dick Cheney, she simply had to go along, and she refused to do that. And I think that because of that, she becomes the most consequential House member, at least in our lifetime, maybe for a long time. And as I said, I think she has a future as a person of great influence, because she is placing the democracy over every party, a policy that her party has ever held dear, that she fought for decades.
So do you see this set of events as very unique to Liz Cheney herself, or can we read from what happens in Wyoming something for the Republican Party as a whole?
I think the Republican Party in Wyoming is poised to reject her tonight. Trump got his biggest margin in that state in 2020 of any red state in the country. But I do think, and I think that she is in a minority in the Republican Party. It's largely supportive of Donald Trump. But as I said, she can affect the nominating contest in 2024 if she stays in that fight and makes all of the contestants answer for what the former president has done. I think she would still have an effect. It's not a party where she would likely to be nominated as a presidential candidate in 2024, but she certainly can shape the outcome.
Well, he's been eyeing that seat with a vengeance. Polls close in 2 hours. A.B. Stoddard, our thanks to you this evening.